Hello everyone, and welcome to my first ever tutorial. This is pretty unplanned, so you'll have to excuse me if I have to stop and think, and maybe also stop and think about what I'm saying, since English is not my first language. But this is the effect we're trying to recreate today. I might not show you all of the texturing and stuff, but I'll just show you how to achieve the cloth peeling effect. So let's get into it. This requires, of course, X particles, but you can use any renderer you want. I've used Cycles 4D for this. That's what the GPU renderer I have available at my job, so that's why I used it. I actually quite like Cycles. So the first thing is to have some sort of logo or spline. I started out with a spline, and I'll just connect objects and delete, and zero the position out. And it's quite huge at the moment, so I'll just scale it down quite a bit, so maybe like 400 centimeters. It doesn't really matter. Oh, sorry, I looked at the height, not the width, so something like that. And what we need to do next is I'll go into the front view, and we have to offset the spline. So we'll go into Spline, Clone, Create Outline. And we have to make it, maybe we'll try 2 centimeters bigger. Yeah, that looks about right. Maybe a little bit less than that. Spline, Clone, Create Outline. 1.8 maybe. Yeah, they don't intersect, so that's good. And now we have to split them apart. We want to have 2 separate splines, so I'll just go through here and select the points of the inner spline. Let's see. So I have X particles 4, of course. Let's see. We have build 742. But it should work with any X particles 4 at least. I don't know how it works with earlier versions of X particles, but it's an amazing plugin. I love it. Also, feel free to tell me what I could do better. It's my first tutorial, as I said, so just comment below what I can do better, or if you want to see more tutorials, or if I should stick to being quiet behind the computer. I appreciate any feedback. Also, you can follow me on Instagram if you want. My account is Northern Motion. So feel free to follow me. Let's see, do we have everything? I think we do. Yep. So let's press U P to split them apart. and delete. Oh, let's see here. So we have the inner. Let's hide that for a moment, and we have the outer. Yeah. All right. What we have to do now is I will just rename these quickly. Inner and outer, like that. And let's extrude the inner one. Make some rounded caps, perhaps. Let's see. Sure, why not? And I don't like it to be extruded that much, maybe 5 centimeters. Looks pretty nice. And let's do the same for the outer one. Extrude. I'll just look from the top view so we can see. The goal here is to make sure that they're not intersecting at all. We have to leave some space between the two geos, just because X-Particles is using particles for collisions, so the particle size is based on the geo. So we have to leave a little bit of room to make sure it's not colliding from the start. We want to have control over when and how the particles is colliding with the inner geo, if that makes sense. So we'll make this also a little bit rounded, and we can make it like that. And let's see, 7, no, or 8, 9, 10. 10 looks pretty good. So I just hide the inner one for a moment. I'll rename it first. Inner and outer. And I'll show my lines here just to so we can have a clear representation of our resolution and our lines. So what we need to do is subdivide it. We want to have an as even as possible polygon, or like a regular grid, almost like on the entire object. So maybe another one or two. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And we also have to make it the spline itself subdivided, or maybe uniform. Yeah, that seems like it could work. Sorry. So I'll just increase the subdivisions here. That's quite dense geo, but I think it'll work. Yeah. Also, we have to make the caps a regular grid. So let's go into the caps settings and choose regular grid and decrease the size to maybe 2. I think that'll work. That's just fine because it's triangulated, so we can maybe we will decrease it a little bit more, so 1.5 maybe. Yeah. So the fun starts. I'll make the outer geo editable, and just hide it for a moment. Let's see. I just want to make sure that should work just fine. As you can see, the outer geo is a few centimeters larger overall than the inner geo. That's what we want. So we will use our inner geo as a X-Particles collider. Just add the XP collider tag, and in the XP collider tag settings I want to reduce the bounce quite a bit, or even down to 0, and increase the friction to something around 7 to 10%. And then we'll make a cloth object of our outer geo. So just select it, and I've docked my XP settings and stuff here, but you can also go to X-Particles, Dynamic Objects, XP Cloth, and create cloth. It's the same thing. So we created cloth, and X-Particles automatically added some stuff that we need. What we don't need is the XP gravity. We want to control the gravity ourselves if we want gravity. So I like to use the XP system sort just to get everything clear and sorted. So we can go into our emitter, and we'll go into this display tag and choose circle just to see. And we can see that for every point, I think, on the outer geo, X-Particle is spawning one particle. So we have 44,000 particles. So it's quite a lot. It takes some time to cache this, but when we've cached it, it plays back just fine. So we'll extend our timeline for a little bit to 150 frames, and let's go into our XP cloth tag. So first of all, we want to go into the tearing tab and enable it. And the tearing strength should be fine at 1.1. If we lower it to 1, it will tear right away, like it will just disintegrate into small cloth pieces. That's not really the effect we're after. And everything else you can just leave at default. So go into the advanced tab and enable sticky, just to have like not all the pieces is flying away at the same time. Some of them are sticking to the geo, and we'll increase the strength to maybe 1.05. And now we need to, or maybe we can just play this to see, because if everything works as it should, nothing will happen at this point. If the particles on the outer geo is colliding with the inner geo, it will start moving, and that's not really what we want. We want to have control over when and if it's moving. So I'm just gonna disable the X-ray for the object, and we'll play it to see what's happening. You can't really see, so maybe I should just go into the display tag again and put dots as the editor display. I hope this is making sense. I'm not really sure. So this looks good. Nothing is moving, so we know that the particles for the outer geo isn't colliding with the inner geo at this point. So that's exactly what we want. So now we can use a modifier, like we can use any of these, but in my case I used the XP Wind, and I'll move it off to the side here just to see everything a little bit better. And we want to have it blowing from left to right and maybe just a little bit outwards, so maybe 15 degrees or so. And if we take a look now, I'll just increase the strength a little bit and also increase the turbulence to maybe 20%. So let's see what's happening. You can see that it's colliding with the inner geo here. And let's see if it starts tearing. Yes, it does. But now everything is, the wind is affecting everything at once, and that's not really what we want. So we can add an offset, or a fall off, sorry, to the wind. So I'll just use a box field. I'm pretty new to R21, so I'm not really used to the fields yet. But let's see here. I'll just make it a little bit bigger, and I'll look from above and rotate it so it's the same angle as my text or my geo, like that. And then it's just a matter of animating it. So yeah, my geo is fitting inside the box field. So on frame 0 I don't want the wind to affect my text at all. And on frame, let's say frame 150, I want my wind to affect all of my geo. So something like that. And let's see what we get. Oh, I need to enable the emitter, of course, and start from 0. Also, I want to just turn off the icon for X particles. It's really annoying. Alright, as you can see, it's quite slow, but it's worth it. Let's see what's happening. can see that it starts to move a little bit, so maybe we have to adjust the tearing a little bit, or the stickiness, but we'll see. Okay, so I think I'll actually hide my my emitter or my particles so I can see a little bit better. So it's starting to look like something, but I think we have to make a few adjustments to the tearing. We'll see. So I think this is actually tearing into large chunks, so we might have to adjust it. This is looking like it's a... yeah, I don't know. So what we'll do is just go back to frame 0 and go to the tearing, and we'll reduce the tearing strength a little bit, so maybe 1.085. Let's try that. We might also have to reduce the stickiness a little bit, so 1.04 maybe. And while we're at it, I'll add a side environment just to, like, we can see it rendered. I'll go into the settings for the environment and add an HDRI. Maybe, let's see. HDRIs, and we have, maybe we'll try the Reno suburb. Sounds nice. Okay, and we'll go into the environment object and hide it from the camera view, and we'll increase the brightness a little bit, and also I'm getting ahead of myself here, so I was thinking of starting to texture it, but let's hold on. Let's see what we got. When I did my first animation of this, I actually tried a bunch of different settings for the tearing strength and the stickiness and the friction. I forgot the name, and I, for every test, I actually cached the whole entire simulation just to see, like, the speed of everything and stuff like that. And so it took maybe around 1.5 hours or 2 hours to cache the entire thing. But yeah, of course it's depends on your computer. Okay, we can turn off the preview for cycles. Okay, so maybe we have, it's a little bit better. It's not quite as large chunks of cloth tearing. I think what we'll do is just, I don't want it to collide as much with the next letter over, so I just move my box field out of the way here. Oops, no, I won't. I'll just rotate the actual wind a little bit more, so it's blowing more like outwards, and then I'll adjust my box. Just rotate it a little bit and keyframe, and let's see. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. I might have to pause, because now it's trying to like calculate all the cloth from 0 to 150. So this might take a while. I'll pause the video and I'll get back when it's done. So we're back. Let's see where we were. Yeah, so we have rotated the wind a little bit, so let's just see how the animation of the box field is. Since we rotated the wind, it's off a little bit, so we're just gonna adjust the position and keyframe it again, and let's see what we got now. Okay, I'm just gonna pause it for a little bit, and we can actually, just for the sake of the tutorial, we're gonna move the box field a little bit closer so we don't have to wait for it. And let's see. Okay. It's kind of painful to wait for stuff like this, but what do you do? This is quite a computer. It's a 10-core Intel Xeon with 32 gigs of RAM and 2 RTX Quadro RTX 5000, so it's quite fast, but cloth is slow. Okay, so it's quite chunky still. Let's see, just let it play a little bit more to see if it shatters into smaller pieces. We might need to add some turbulence or something also. I think I did that for my animation, for the original one. Okay, I'm just gonna pause it to see. Yeah, so okay, it shatters into both small and larger pieces, and that's what we want. Here it also starts to break apart, and I guess that's because the particles is touching the inner geo. So you have to make sure it's the outer geo is quite a bit larger than the inner one, because I don't think you can the size of the particles, the radius is, I don't think it matters what I put here, because I think it's decided on the size of the polygons. Let's see. I think I'll actually I'll pause this and we'll make a cache of it, and I'll see how long it will take. So we'll just make a quick cache. Like this, and let's see. I'll speed this up in the editing. Alright, so I didn't have the patience to let it run through to 100%, but you can see that we have something that looks quite nice. Let's see how far we actually cached it. Yeah, maybe actually it kind of dissolves to 2 small pieces, but yeah, that's the 70 frames is what we cached to, so from now on we'll have to go through it frame by frame. Let's see if we can pause it. So you can play around with the settings if you'll have to anyway, because of every geo is different, and you'll have to like play around with the stickiness and the friction and the tearing strength. So maybe what I should have done is actually increased the tearing strength again to 1.1 or even a little bit above that, so it doesn't break apart into quite as small pieces as it does now. So sorry, I'm quickly gonna show you just how I made the materials also in cycles. It's very easy. So I'll make like a simple version of it. So I think I just made, for the inner one, I made a white material. So let's see. And I don't know where to put the node editor. Here maybe. And I think I made it a little bit metallic, and then I used a roughness map. So let's see. I have that here somewhere. Let's see. Maybe there, and roughness maps, and here I have some nice ones. So it's just a matter of selecting one, maybe that one, and pull it into the node editor, and we'll just see how it looks on the. You can see that it stretches. This is by default it's UV mapped, so for this I'm just gonna I think I'll just map it to a cubic mapping. Let's see. It's slow. And we'll actually we can wait and see how it looks first. So I'll just change the projection to cubic, and that looks, it will do for now. And I actually used it on the, I think maybe both the metallic and the roughness, I'm not sure. Let's see. So that looks quite decent. I like the roughness of it. I don't know, yeah, maybe you can see. So we'll go with that for now, and for the outer material I just made, let's see, I made a mix material, So we'll search for the mix shader and we'll plug first shader into that one, and we'll use the output of the mix shader and plug it into the surface. And then we'll choose the, maybe we can, sorry, I'm babbling a little bit, but alright. So we want the outside of it to be black or near black, and make it a little bit less shiny, something like that. And the inside we want to make another shader, principal shader. Let's see, principal BSDF, and we'll make it a little bit golden, maybe something like that, and we'll increase the metallic, not quite all the way, maybe also increase the roughness a little bit, and we'll plug that into the shader 2. And now you'll see it's what it does by default is mixing the two shaders together, so it's just like mixing 50% of the black shader and 50% of the gold shader. So what we want to do is pull in a geometry node and we want to use the back facing as a factor. So that means that the front facing polygons will use the black shader and the back facing polygons will use the gold shader. And that's what we want. So now it's just a matter of finding some nice camera angles and using some depth of field and stuff. So I often use the stage object and just set up some animations of the camera and switch between the cameras like that. So I like the stage object. It's quite useful. So just to like, for the fun of it, we can find a nice angle where we can see we can maybe go forward a little bit, and we can see, I like the tearing of the T here, so we can focus in a little bit on that, maybe a little bit from above, and then we'll just, oh, we don't have a camera. We'll add a new camera and look through it, and let's see. We have to find the focus spot, maybe somewhere around here, and we'll increase the depth of field size and see what we got. Yeah, looks pretty nice. Oh, one more thing. Let's see here. I'll just go forward a little bit more so we can see. What I also did was for the outer geo I added cycles for the tag as side objects and enabled like subdivisions in render time. So just to make the geo look a little bit more smooth, you can see yeah, so it smooths it out like a normal subdivision, which looks pretty nice. So that's the gist of it. Please don't hesitate to contact me, comment below if you have any questions, or follow me on Instagram, like I said, Northern Motion. And please give me a follow here on YouTube and tell me if you want more tutorials or what I do good and what I can do better. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.